beautiful drone shots
Yep.
of this facility. You said, Roger, you had never raced here before. When you look at the racetrack, is it compared to anything that you've seen at other racetracks around the country?
Well, it has the elevations. You think about like a Barber or the Ridge, a place like that. I think with the ups and the downs, not a lot of blind corners, but yeah, it kind of looks like just like even VR, a little bit like VR there. So awesome track. I never rode here, but man, it looks like a blast. I've seen the Super Motard and the Ovalies here for years, and it's always looked like a lot of fun. And off to a good weekend so far, Jamie. And it's just so big. It's just great to be here at the AMA sanctioned national event. 6 #1 AMA national championships will be given away tomorrow.
Yeah, and you mentioned that at the start, that when you were growing up racing, just having the opportunity now at this stage of the game to be able to take home one of those the coveted AMA #1 plates for one of these young riders, that's going to be something that they can put on their resume for a long time.
Oh, yeah. And also, too, that's what you work for. Last year, you might have not had the weekend that you wanted, and you come here, and it's not – and this event is so big, it's not just the local riders. This is the riders from all over the country. We had 15 riders here this weekend that was in Asia last weekend racing and coming over. So it just shows you how tough the competition is. And when you win one of those things, it's a heck of an honor.
Coming up next will be the GP 160 category for riders between the ages of 9 and 14 years old, all racing on the Ovale. The GP 160 Evo, for them also having the opportunity to win one of the Dunlop guitars that the MotoAmerica class champions receive, also being considered for Dunlop Team Elite in 2026. But there are a lot of prizes on the table. Tom Duma Fine Jewelers, who does championship rings for the MotoAmerica championship winners, doing pendants for champions in the races here this weekend. A lot of really fantastic prizes that have been put on the table.
Motion Pros giving away gift packs this weekend. Arai Helmets also stepping up and giving some stuff away this weekend as well.
Mentioned the fact that the championship point standings will be accumulated over the 4 races, but also if you did one of the more than 20, I believe there are 22 races that were qualifiers, that were sanctioned qualifiers to come here this weekend, you get 10 bonus points. So that's a pretty big little bonus for riders also.
They had 5 new qualifiers this year, 12 clubs around the U.S. put them on, 17 different states for riders and 4 countries.
That's pretty amazing about the more than 70 riders that are here on the property. You know, one of those qualifiers, Roger, Tyler O'Hara, our own Tyler O'Hara, that races in Mission King of the Baggers as well as Mission Super Hooligans, one of the Indian factory riders. He hosted one of the races that was a qualifier for this national championship. When are we going to see you hosting a national event?
That is a lot of work. John Hopkins also, everybody remembers that name, Race MotoGP, puts on one at the Apex as well. So I don't know, Jamie. I guess I need to get to work and see what I can do.
Apex is one of the races, one of the locations you were talking a lot about when we were walking through the paddock earlier. And in terms of, I mean, looking at the 70 entries, in terms of where these riders are coming from, they really are spread out from all over the country. You have riders from Florida to California. We have several represented in South Dakota, a lot in New Jersey, some from Texas. They're really all over. Is there an area of the country where riding is more prevalent for younger riders?
Well, I think in Southern California it kind of helps because you can ride year-round. I think that's one kind of big help. But the biggest thing for a young rider is just having competition. And I think at Apex, the way so many more young riders are starting to get there and get some laps in, and a lot of fast riders as well. I think that's the most important thing is going there and, just getting a lot of seat time against competitive riders.
14 riders here in the GP 160 category. Here's a look at the starting grid. Jay Still, our pole sitter, was Zalfar in right behind him, and then Maverick Johnson sitting in third.
Yeah, and then Gabriel Daddis fourth, Jaeger Stockhill there fifth.
Going back to row number 3, you have Artur Pinol Castellanos in 7th, Stefan Tanansik in 8th, and then Lambert Sue in 9th.
Mason McIntyre back out there, row 4.
So Aiden Laswell there in 10th, Cole Shannon in 11th. We'll round out our field with Maverick Nichols and Levi Martinez. Mentioned now we're getting to the point, Roger, where we see some riders that are out in multiple categories. There's not a lot of time. We've watching it real time. This is live coverage. So with young riders not having a big gap in between the races, what do they focus on?
Well, I think for this race, for a guy like Owen there, kind of a younger person, and Mason McIntyre as well, a little bit of the older person in the 110, and then they come here against the 160 where they're kind of the younger riders. So I think there's a lot to be gained when you kind of go up that bigger class.
Saw Farhan there on the middle of row number one of the repeat riders who already raced earlier today. He'll race again later on this afternoon, of course, but just 9 years old, racing in 2 different championships in Spain. He's one of the riders that raced in China last week, and he actually won on the 110 bike in China last weekend. So for him, it's not only weekend to weekend, bike to bike, but continent to continent. It's a huge commitment.
Huge commitment for him and for the family as well. And just think about all the experience that he's getting. One weekend he's in China, this weekend he's in Wisconsin. Just getting all that experience. Riding different tracks, they talked about the bikes there a little bit different as well. So I just think it's just awesome for these young riders to have that opportunity to be able to get out there and put themselves in some of those tough spots.
The other interesting thing that his dad, Navid, brought up to us was the fact that this all started. He didn't grow up in a racing family. This all started as a COVID project. Think back to 2020. He's 9 years old now. 5 years ago, he's just a kid. He needs to get outside. He needs to play, and it was motorcycle riding. That was one of the things that they could do.
Yeah, and the family wanted to get out and do something, and the only thing open was some racetracks, so they was able to get out. And once you start, Jamie, once that bug bites, it's hard to get rid of it.
It is a full commitment right now, and for this warm-up lap, so this will be another 10-lap race for these young riders. That was their final opportunity to see the grid position, practice a start, get through these first couple of corners. Now as they come around to finish out this lap, Roger, what's the final thought for a kid that's this age?
Well, I think just trying to get a good start and get through the first corners clean, and try to. Jace Deal was last year's champion in this class, so try to just learn from him as much as possible.
He was fastest in both of the practice sessions yesterday as well. 11 years old, out of Temecula, California, one of the Ovalle USA riders. Good opportunity for him to continue making a name for himself and continuing to grow through the sport. Say he's only 11 years old. He still has years left in this category before he needs to move up to anything bigger, but certainly he can as soon as he is ready to at this point.
Talking about that Apex track in California, his dad helps a lot there in him. That's another product of that track really elevating people.
It looks like everyone found their grid positions. Watch the starter stand. It is time to go racing. That was a great start.
Great start. You see a little bump in there for third and fourth. Rider down through that chicane. Two riders
that are down. You can see the frustration in the body language of both of these young riders, getting that cone out of the way.
Pick that bike up, get back in it.
It's one of those lessons, right? You've got 10 laps, and it certainly isn't over yet. You get points awarded down to 15th place with only 14 riders. You don't want to waste any time with the bike on the ground. See number 97, that is Jay Still, our pole sitter. He was the one that had that great start from pole position. You can see everyone settling behind him. This is a bigger breakaway than what we've seen in the other competitive, highly contested categories.
I think we've seen some riders getting together off the start through where they're at right now, and I think that really broke up the pack early on, and plus the crash.
Zal Farhan in seconds.
Ooh, mistake for Jace there. You see the rear end stepping out on corner entry when he was going back a gear.
See him looking over his shoulder to see how close Zal was and if he was going to have time to get it put back together, and he did this time. Now that gap is starting to close down, this is a good little battle heating up for fourth. Number 37, Gabriel Datis. Jaeger Stockel in fourth. And Maverick Johnson in fifth. Those are our top five. Got a replay of that accident. Those first couple of moments, Roger.
Yeah, just look back toward the back part of the grid there, about mid-pack. You're going to see two riders, two lines came together, and just it's tough through those starts like that for everybody to get through.
Obvious frustration, but time to pick it back up.
Yep.
10 laps here in this GP 160 race. See the heads down for these young riders. They want to get onto the podium. There's a look at the run order on the left-hand side of your screen. Looking out the window along the fence line, it's great to see the families that are encouraging their riders along, waving their hats, waving their hands, waving anything that they think that the riders might be able to see as they come across the stripe.
Good battle for third, fourth, and fifth. That's a big difference from fifth to getting yourself up onto that podium.
Jace has been able to open that gap between himself and the lead to Zal Farhan sitting in second, so almost 3.5 seconds. So it's a great start to this race for him, but it's going to be all about not making those mistakes. And then you've got this group right here behind him that's ready to get onto the podium.
Yeah, and Jace also last lap was a little bit quicker than he qualified, so he's getting it better as the day's going on.
Gabriel is leading this battle for third place. He qualified fourth. Jaeger is right behind him, who qualified fifth, and then Maverick, of course, qualifying third. So it was Maverick who had the rough start, now trying to claw himself back in, see if he can get back up into that top three. Jaeger was able to move himself up into third, so halfway point of the race now, and now that he's gotten around, you can see him start to move forward just a little bit. If you're Gabriel Datis, you got to stay right on the tail end of him.
You can see Maverick now getting a little bit aggressive as well. He sees him starting to pull away a little bit.
That was the gap to second. You saw Zal Farhan on the yellow and black bike come through the frame.
Here's the pass. Great pass if he's able to make it stick.
Carry the momentum. Across the stripe, it's going to be Maverick, who's now sitting in fourth. Jaeger Stockel in third. So now Gabriel Datis has moved back to fifth. Here's a replay of that pass. You saw it getting set up, Roger.
Yeah, just see the second rider right there. He's going to go right to the apex as they start setting themselves up through this long right-hander there. Just going right through it. You can see, here it goes, right there. Great pass. The rider in front of him left the door open for a normal line, and that's the tough when the door is open like that. You try to do your normal line, but you leave the door open.
This battle is nowhere near over yet. So Gabriel is now up into fourth. Maverick Johnson sitting in third, and then Jaeger Stockel down in fifth. 4 laps remaining. Out front is still Jay Still over Zal Farhan by nearly 7 seconds, so that gap continuing to widen. You're not missing anything up front, but this one back here These are two competitors that you can see have a lot of respect for each other on the racetrack, but they certainly want by.
Yeah, you can see, too, getting a little bit more impatient as this race is winding down. They went back and forth a couple times. As they went back and forth, though, Maverick Johnson was able to pull away from those guys that last lap.
Maverick Johnson sitting in third. One of the other riders that was in China last weekend, carrying the Flow for Law sponsorship here into his MotoAmerica debut. It's worth mentioning this is his first race under the MotoAmerica banner. There's the number 97 of Jay Still, now coming in on the tail end of the field, coming through some traffic with just over 2 laps remaining.
He's got an 8-second lead. I'm sure he's looked back a couple of these corners at that turning themselves. You can kind of see that the gap to the rider behind you coming up on these lappers. Just needs to make clean passes and not force the issue.
But at just 11 years old, you saw how focused he was, and he was patient also to get through that traffic and not making any mistakes. As he crossed the stripe for 2 laps remaining. That gap now at 7.3 seconds between himself and Zoll. So that was the effect of the traffic. Zoll being able to get through there as well. Maverick Johnson also able to close up on Zoll just a little bit. Maverick sitting in third, of course.
Maverick Johnson there, he's about a half a second quicker that last lap than he qualified. That's a really good lap there. See Jace there, patient, coming up on a lapper, didn't know if he's going to be able to make it through, just slowed down.
Realizing he has a gap over the rest of the field behind him. He doesn't need to force the issue, but he certainly doesn't want to take himself out in the process. As the white flag flies for Jay Still, this is the final lap of this 10-lap battle here in race number 1 for the GP 160 category. He has nearly a 7-second gap over second place of Zoll Farhand. And for this young 11-year-old rider out of Temecula, being the quickest rider on the property in this category on Friday, he's going to have a lot of momentum going into the rest of racing later on this weekend.
All these riders, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, are quicker than they qualified, really picking up the pace.
We've seen that in some of the positions in the racing so far, but we were thinking that with it being warmer outside, not as much grip out there, the front runners might not be able to find as much, but they certainly have, which is great when you think about the experience level that they have and being able to put it to the pavement. The checkered flag for race number 1 going to Jay Still with the race win. Great result for him. And then Zoll Farland able to finish in second. Maverick Johnson rounding out our top 3 after being involved in that battle early on. Gabriel Datis in 4th, and Jaeger Stockhill running out the top 5. Mason McIntyre on the number 33. We saw him out earlier. Currently inside of the top 10. Not sure, looking at timing and scoring, if maybe he had an incident on that final lap, but up front, there were no questions. It was Jay Still from the pole position all the way to the race win for him, and he's going to carry those 25 points forward into later on this afternoon. Again, all of the categories will get a second race on the same track layout. You see Jay Still there with the race win. 9-second gap over second place of Zoll Farland.
Yeah, great race. Maverick Johnson, what a great race for him there, 3rd. Gabriel Datis there, 4th.
Jaeger Stockhill rounding out the top 5. One of the riders from Canada. We have a big group of Canadian riders here this weekend. All in all, riders from 4 different countries are represented on the property, so a lot of growth here for the Mission Mini Cup National Final. 6 different categories on the property. See our full field of results in the GP 160 class. Riders who had mistakes or incidents here in race number 1, they'll get another crack at it later on this afternoon. And I love the format here, Roger, that tomorrow we flip the script and change the track direction and everyone gets to go at it again.
Yeah, I like that too also because it gives the opportunity to have 2 different layouts. So if a rider's really strong this way, you know, you turn around and the track goes the opposite direction and gives everybody a fair shot.
While we wait for Jace to get off the track and look forward to hearing from him, we have our youngest riders on the property will be next out to the racetrack. It will be stock 50 riders are getting ready. This is, of course, for riders between the ages of 6 and 8 years old. We have 12 different riders in this class that are race ready, and you can see just the size difference. Look how big those helmets look on those little riders. Going to be great to watch that one. As Cooper Jazikoff is our pole sitter in the stock 50 category. Can't wait to see that one. That will be a 7-lap battle. But before we get them out on the racetrack, let's get down and hear from Jace, who's now made his way over to our interview position. Congratulations on this first race win of the weekend, Jace.
Thank you.
What were some of the key elements to that one for you? You led from the pole, but you also had to come up through some traffic.
Yeah, I just stayed on the gas and didn't let go besides the corner.
What are you going to work on going into the second race this afternoon?
Keeping it a little more steady because I was moving around a lot, so I think that's key.
With the 10-lap races, is it physically challenging? Is it just long enough? What about the race distance?
I think it's good. It's great distance. To me, it's fine.
Do you get the same suit that you wore last year for tomorrow afternoon, or did you bring a new one this year?
I don't have it.
You don't have it?
No.
Outgrew it, huh?
Yeah.
All right, that's Jay Still, our race winner in the GP 160 category. He'll get ready to race again this afternoon at 4 o'clock. Congratulations. 25 points coming your way. We'll see what you can do later on this afternoon.
Thank you.
5 that's crashed there toward the end of the lap. Hopefully he's not hurt too bad in the bike and he can get back to the pits. Looks like try to get back in this race if possible. It looks like the airbag went off.
Having a hard time
deflating it,
yep. Thankful to have the MotoAmerica team on hand here this weekend to help these young riders. And it's like some slow ones going around as well. But you heard Bodie say it there that, yes, there are some areas of the track that are drying out pretty nicely, but there are some areas that are also pretty wet, and it's kind of sketchy.
You can see it. And the thing is, so we're getting to the part of the track where it's starting to dry out from here, this right, left, and then up the hill. But then you start thinking the track is really drying out, and then you get down to the bottom of the hill. That's where the concentration comes in. You got to remember where those puddles are.
A little bit of false confidence there for these young riders, and that's one of the things that Bodie said. Young riders don't think a whole lot of those situations all the way through. 9 to 14 years old here in the GP 160 category, so varying levels of experiences. Looks like there's another rider with a problem there. Being able to focus your attention for this familiarization session, being able to focus on what it is that you need to learn on these laps, that's a tall order.
It's tough because you don't know what the line is. You want to kind of push and figure out the track and go quick, but you also know that the race is going to start. And we see mistakes, and that's what you're going to see from young kids, and that's how you learn. That's what the great thing about the Mini Cup is. They come here and they're making those mistakes, and they're getting them out of the way earlier in their career.
Sawyer Lafayette has led the way in this session so far in terms of lap time for him. He finished 6th in the first race today in the dry conditions. We'll see on this final lap who's able to improve, but Checkered flag is out at the starting stand, so that is all the time that these young riders are going to get. As we see in the back of the shot, another rider going down with an issue there, pushing it just a little bit here at the end of this session, but it's only 5 minutes once that checkered flag is out before pit lane opens for the sighting lap for race number 2.
Hopefully the crash is at slow speed, the bike's not too damaged, and they can get back to the pits.
There's a look at the checkered flag. So time has started to be able to get the bike back in and cool yourself off, think through the motions that need to pan out here to be able to get some maximum points in race number 2. That's Sawyer Lafayette on the 6:16. Continuing on with the quickest time in this qualifying session, or sorry, this wet familiarization session, just 13 years old out of Kent, Washington. So as a rider from the Pacific Northwest, that could be could speak to the experience he has in these conditions. So
another rider just crashed. It's the same corner kind of coming down that hill.
Looks like it's a little slicker there. I believe that might have been Sawyer, who was coming around on the cool down lap. You see the number 93, Aiden Laswell, who's on that green bike off to the side there, still hasn't made his way back around.
Unfortunate to crash on the cool down lap like that. The practice is kind of over, but you can see how hard he's trying to get that bike started.
And again, as soon as the checkered flag was out, that means that the 5-minute countdown to get ready for the sighting lap.
Good MotoAmerica officials over there helping that kid out right there, going to be able to help him get right back in this race.
Sky's starting to get a little bit darker here on the property.
Looks like his left handlebar's bent, clip-on's bent a little bit.
So for Sawyer, who found some pace in these challenging conditions, now we'll have to bring the bike back around and see if we can get everything squared back up for race number 2. This will be a 10-lap race.
It's going to be a long race. We look at the track here, you can see the first part starting to dry up, and you know, it's going to be 5 minutes, probably now 2 or 3 minutes before they go back out, and then you think about a 10-lap race. Track's going to be a lot different those last couple laps.
You can see Remy is back on the controls of the drone camera, and really a great look at the full racetrack, and you can see those dry spots that we were talking about, but you can also see where the riders have had some issues and where the water is still holding on. All right, as we get ready for race number 2 here in GP 160, take a look at the starting grid. After the 2 qualifying sessions this morning, Jay Still, our pole sitter. He was also our race winner earlier today. Zal Farhand alongside him on row number 1 with Maverick Johnson rounding out the front 3.
Yeah, then we got Gabriel Daddis there, and then on the inside on row 6, Sawyer Lafayette, who we've seen just go down.
See if he's able to get that bike back where he likes it and ready for racing here this afternoon as we go to row number 3. A couple of the riders not able to make their way all the way back around, just looking over at timing and scoring. Row number 4, you see Aiden Laswell there. He had an issue. You see Cole Shannon alongside him on row number 4, Mason McIntyre qualifying in 12th. Mason, one of the riders that was not shown with the time there in that wet familiarization session, so we'll see if he's able to make the call to the grid with Maverick Nichols and Levi Martinez rounding out the 14 riders here in GP 160. A lot of the riders looking at the timing and scoring screen, Roger, the 5th through 12th, they were able to do their best lap of that session there on the last lap of the session. That'll give him a little bit of confidence, but false confidence is not what young riders need either.
And also, too, it gave them a couple minutes to talk to their parents and see where they can be better.
See the number 33 of Mason McIntyre there at the back of this group. So even though he doesn't have a time on the timing and scoring screen from that familiarization session, it looks like he is out there, and he looks pretty comfortable, looks calm, cool, collected, race ready. Number 98, Zalfar Hand.
It's like one rider stalled his bike and his buddy's jumping on it to start it for him.
Yep. I believe that was Zal that jumped off of the bike. Not sure who it was that jumped on, but it's a great competitor, isn't it?
His buddy came through for him.
These young riders, Roger, getting these bikes going.
It's not easy.
It's not easy, right?
No, because you kind of, they got a lot of compression, so it's hard to kick. You think about how young these kids are, and sometimes when they get hot, bikes get even harder to start. And when you're short, it's hard to get enough power down to kickstart, so it can be tough.
Here in the 160 class, you have to be between the ages of 9 and 14 years old. Zal Farhan there on that number 98. He is the youngest one in this field at just 9 years old, having turned 9 last August. So the youngest one out there, one of the smallest ones out there as well. So he's got a number of years left in front of him in this class. Actually, he's one of the riders we talked about earlier today that raced in China last week. He won on the 110. He wasn't allowed to race in the 160 because you had to be 10 years old in that Chinese championship to do that. And so for him, he's getting extra bonus experience here in the United States that he's going to carry with him no matter where he races.
Big opportunity for him to be able to come here and race the 160 and get out there with some fast kids. See him waving to the camera.
Big wave from all of them. That's pretty awesome to have that full field there at the ready, waiting for pit exit to open up, be able to get out underway for their sighting lap. Looks like everyone's pretty ready to go.
They're ready. The flagman's brave standing right there.
Only thing worse than being in between racers wanting to get to the racetrack is being someone in between kids wanting to get out to the racetrack. Green flag now waving. This is the sighting lap for race number 2 of the GP 160 Mission Mini Cup National Final, the second of 4 races for this category. Good look at the changing track conditions as the racetrack continues to dry out over the course of the next 10 laps. We expect more of the same. It will continue to improve and dry each lap that these riders are able to circulate.
That lap tender that these riders are in right now in the front, that's where we're seeing some problems in that wet session before this race started. So it's a corner to watch for.
One rider at the back. Is that the 33? Is that?
Couldn't tell.
Couldn't tell either. He was at the tail end of the group waiting to get on to the racetrack. But
then somebody, I believe, is going to have to start it. You can see right there, it looks like he was able to get out. So won't have to start on the pit lane. Cut it close, though.
Still able to make it out to the grid. So that was the sighting lap. Everyone will now make their way to their grid positions. We'll get ready for the warm-up lap. They have one team member that's able to meet them out there at their grid position.
Some last-minute words of advice from mom and dad.
They're in the red shirt. That's Naveed. That is Zal Farhan's dad. It's out there. The whole family getting their feet wet here in two-wheel racing. One of the families, it was a COVID project for them. It was one of the things they were able to do together in a time when nothing else was happening in the world of sports. So for them, this has turned into the way they spend all of their time together. See Jay Still on the number 97, our pole sitter, our race 1 winner. Jay's 11 years old out of Temecula, California. He was also fastest in both of the practice sessions on Friday, so he's had a really great start to the weekend.
It's kind of the guy going into this weekend that we were looking at, being last year's champion, coming over and seeing if anybody was going to be able to take that crown from him.
One of the things he said after he won the first race earlier today was his personal goal for race number 2 was just to keep it steady. With these changing conditions, how much more difficult does that become?
It's harder. We see in the familiarization some riders going down, so it's going to be a lot harder to keep that focus, and might see some other riders up there in the front as this race goes on because of the conditions. So when it's like this, it's just trickier. It's harder to stay focused. It's harder not to make a mistake.
Now underway for the warm-up lap. This is everyone's final opportunity to see the racetrack in these conditions. You can see the lights around the racetrack have now come on. We weren't planning on racing under the lights, but this is pretty cool. This is a great opportunity for these young riders. Great opportunity for the fans and their families that are here at the racetrack. Still have 2 races to go after these 10 laps for the GP 160. We still have stock 50 to take to the racetrack, the youngest riders on the property, before we wrap up coverage here on day number 1 with the GP 110 class at the end of the day. So still have a good amount of racing left to go.
Looks like Lambert Sue there missed the warm-up lap, and he's going to have to start from pit lane. A couple of them.
There's the number 33 of Mason McIntyre as well. So these 2 will start from pit lane. They're not automatically disqualified. They just have to wait for the full field to go by, and it's going to take them a little bit longer to get up to speed. Lights are out. We're racing. Race number 2 here for GP 160.
It did not look like Jay Steele got a very good start there from pole position. One of the riders in the front kind of bogged a little bit off the line. I couldn't tell if that was him or not.
And there were 2 riders that were leaving from pit lane, Mason McIntyre and Lambert Sue.
Zoll's got the lead. Great start.
This is a 10-lap race, and for these young riders with changing track conditions, they're going to have to stay focused. We heard from Bodie Page, even with the experience that he has, how difficult that is. Stressful these opening laps are. You want to push it, but you can't push it too hard.
Got to be patient early on. Not put yourself in too big of a hole to lose too much time, but you also don't want to take too many chances early on.
As the racers come around for lap number 1, Zal Farhan leading the way. Jay Still from the pole position, sitting in second, right on the rear wheel of Zal. Gabriel Datis with a great start in third.
Pass on the inside. Just not close enough. And it's tough in these wet conditions like this when it's half wet and half dry. Sometimes the door open to make the passes in the wet, so you have to be real careful.
That's one thing on in that familiarization session, sighting lap, the warm-up lap. We don't see anyone going around the outside or really to the inside to make any moves. Everyone on their own singular line. So in these conditions, when it comes to racing, might be a part of the track they haven't seen.
You can see Jace, though, using some different lines, trying to set up in some different spots and put him in maybe the inside one of these corners. I really think at the top of the hill is the spot where he's been looking.
These 2, I mean, it looks like they're having fun. They look confident on the bikes, and they've really been able to pull out over the rest of the field. Even after just the opening 2 laps, you can see these 2 just out there riding on their own, and then there's that battle behind them.
If he could just stay a little bit closer coming up that hill. Look at him now. He's going to try to look up the inside again, just a little bit wet where he wants to make the pass. I think he knows he's got the speed, so he just has to continue to stay patient.
just as a reminder, Roger Zoll on that number 98 that's leading this race right now in this 9 to 14-year-old category. He is the 9-year-old that is out there right now, so doesn't have all of the experience in terms of years that some of these other riders around him certainly have, but he is proving just how impressive he actually is as a rider.
It's going to be a huge confidence booster for him. Here we go. Jace is getting a little bit closer this lap. Going to try to get a good run, see if he can put himself up the inside. Looking at it, just not close enough again. Last lap, I think he would have forced the issue.
This is a 10-lap race, though, so we need to stay patient.
Yep.
Got to get to the end. They're staying together. For Jace, that's the big thing right now, that gap between these front two, between themselves and the battle for third, some 5.5 seconds back. So they have enough of a gap. They don't want to force it between the two of them too much, but they're running their own race at the moment.
Zoll's fastest lap in the first race was a 57.5, and he just did a 59.9. Only a couple seconds off of what they did in these tough conditions.
Speaks to how quickly the racetrack is drying out, but also how comfortable these young riders can be in challenging conditions, and maybe that's where they don't know better yet, does it? Maybe that's where that comes into play.
This is a good battle for the last podium spot.
It's Gabriel Datis right now sitting in third, finished fourth in race number 1. Jaeger Stockhill in fourth, and Maverick Johnson rounding out the top 5. As they come to the stripe, it will be 5 laps remaining.
Going to come up into some lap traffic also. See Jace, now he's going to try to go a little bit wider and see if he can get the drive and put himself into the next corner. I really like that, putting himself in some different opportunities to try to find some different spots to pass.
He's not afraid to move around a little bit, but the benefit that Zoll has right now is he doesn't really have to until he has the pressure right on him. Right now he's on the defensive, and he just has to get through the traffic without making any mistakes, staying patient. Put that responsibility on Jace. Make Jace make the pass. Four laps remaining now is Jace still in that last lap with the best lap of the race so far. We're down to the 59s. There's a 59.5 for Jace, a 59.7 for Zoll.
More traffic going to come into play also.
Battle for third. They get through the traffic as well. There's the 37, Gabriel Datis. These riders are all staying together as well, so they'll continue to push each other in these conditions. Now 3 laps to go for our front two, and Jace Still was able to make the move around Zoll far end. He was also able to improve his lap time down to a 59.4. We'll see if he can hold on to the point. You see the 97 now out in front of the number 98.
See if Zoll's going to be able to rebound here and try to make a move back on Jace. Jace did a great job remaining patient in this race and finding that right spot. You can see now, looks like he's got a little bit more pace. He's pulling out a couple bike links. See a waving yellow. We got a rider down or two on the left.
Yeah, a couple of riders it looked like, and you see some hands up from pit lane down here as well. The yellow flag waving back there as the front two riders come to the line. 2 laps remaining. Jay Still continuing to lead over Zal Farhand in second.
It's a battle, though. Zal's definitely stepped up and welcomed the challenge.
This was the way they finished in race number 1 earlier today. Jay Still taking home top honors with those 25 points. Zal Farhand not wanting to give up another 25.
See the dry line through here. This is a corner where we had a couple riders down on the left. Looks like the rider's up. Bike's still there, but pretty far off the track.
All right, battle continuing to the stripe. White flag lap. This is the final lap for these front 2 riders. Last opportunity for Zal Farhand to be able to get around Jay Still. Looking in front of him. Don't see any traffic. It's going to come down to rider versus rider, and these two have just done such a great job over the course of this race. Staying calm, staying patient.
He's looking, Jamie. There's just not a door open to make a move.
Jason's doing a great job of not making any mistakes. One of the benefits of sitting behind him for the opening laps is the fact that he knew where he was stronger coming to the stripe, and Jay Still will take home the checkered flag here on race number 2. Zal Farhand able to hold on. Great battle between the two of them for second. This battle for third continuing all the way to the line, and it will be Gabriel Datis with third and Jaeger Stockhill settling in for fourth. Maverick Johnson in fifth. Sawyer Lafayette, who led that wet familiarization session, rounding out our top 6. Visor already up at the helmet for Jay Still. You think he's relieved?
I think so, especially the conditions and the way he had to do it. And he had pressure those last couple laps. Zal really stepped in and dug down and tried to stay close enough to make a move again.
Not having the start that he had in race number 1 and having to claw himself back just a little bit and then make the pass. It was a little bit of a different race for him, but that young rider was able to do it.
He was, and the big thing early on is just the way he was able to stay patient, and he didn't force the issue where he could have a couple spots and maybe not made the pass stick, but he was patient, took his opportunity, and was able to get it done.
Great 10-lap battle. Here's a look at the full results. Jay Still with, of course, the race win. Zal Farhand there in second, and then Gabriel Datis rounding out our top 3.
Jagger Stockhill there, 4th. Maverick Johnson, top 5 there, 6th. Sawyer Lafayette.
See Artur there on the number 75 in 7th. Aiden Laswell in 8th. Lambert Sue, he had to start from pit lane alongside Mason McIntyre. Both of them able to finish the race today, so I'll give them a little bit of confidence going into tomorrow. Of course, these challenging conditions, not what everyone was expecting with the beautiful morning that we had on hand for the qualifying sessions, but all of these young riders able to learn something, gain some experience, get out there, and ultimately that's what a career in racing you have to do. Big smile on the face of Jay Still. Already has the helmet off, already getting to celebrate.
Look at that smile.
It's pretty awesome, huh? 2 race wins in one day. You can see our next riders, the Stock 50, the 6 to 8-year-olds getting ready for their second race of the day. They'll have a 5-minute familiarization session as well. We'll have guest announcers that we've been teasing Bodie Page as well as Hank Fosberg, two of the Talent Cup competitors here in the North American Talent Cup. They'll be able to come into the booth and they're going to try their hand at calling the action. Can't wait to listen to that. You know what that does, Roger? Gives us a chance to have that pizza. Dunlop was kind enough to bring us into the booth. We're going to get some of that. Love seeing these little kids able to come out this weekend. And
Jamie, I'm not sure if there's going to be any pieces left. I've seen a couple people sneaking in over here.
Well, I think we'll find some pizza. We have a couple slices stashed away somewhere, I'm sure. All right, so Jay Still now has the headset on. I bet the smile is still on his face. Congratulations, Jace. That was a great battle between yourself and Zoll.
Thank you.
How hard was it early on in that race to stay patient?
It was okay. I mean, I was just waiting for the right moment, and it came.
With the experience level that you have at just 11 years old, how did you know that you were at a point where you were able to take over the race win or the lead?
When the lap riders were coming, I was hoping that he would make a mistake with them, and then I would go around and pass.
What about the track? Was it really starting to dry out during that race?
Yeah, it started drying up a lot. Some corners are fully dry.
In terms of getting ready for racing tomorrow, what are you looking forward to this evening?
I'm not sure, but I'm ready to race.
Ready to race?
Yeah,
you still have two more races. That's right. What was the biggest thing you take away from today?
I'm not sure.
Not sure. Well, you wanted to keep it steady. Yep. That was your goal coming into race 2. How do you feel you did?
Did okay. I mean, it's a little wet, so obviously it's not the easiest.
What about tomorrow? What's something that you can work on in your riding?
Maybe I could stay on the gas a little bit later in some spots and brake harder.
All right. Well, some things to work on overnight. How do you do that? Do you go back? You're going to watch the race? Do you just talk about it? What do you do?
I'm going to go watch it, redo, and see what I did wrong.
All right. Well, you did a lot of things right as well. Congratulations. Great opening day for you as you look to see if you can get a #1 plate tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah. Thank you.
Great job. Thank you.